Welcome, Class 11G aspirants, to an exciting journey into the heart of chemical thermodynamics. Today, we unravel the mysteries of the second law. We'll explore why reactions happen, why processes have a natural direction, and what truly drives the universe. Get ready to master spontaneity, entropy, and Gibbs free energy, moving through easy, medium, hard, and hardest levels to conquer this crucial G topic. Ready to discover the fundamental force behind all natural changes? Let's begin our exploration of the second law with some easy-to-grasp concepts. The first law of thermodynamics taught us that energy is conserved, but it didn't tell us why some things happen on their own, like ice melting, while others, like water freezing at room temperature, don't. This is where the concept of spontaneity comes in. A spontaneous process is simply one that occurs naturally without any external help. Think of a ball rolling downhill that's spontaneous. Now, to understand why these processes happen, we introduce entropy. Entropy is a fancy word for disorder or randomness. Imagine a neatly arranged stack of books versus books scattered everywhere. The scattered books have higher entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states that for any spontaneous process, the total disorder, or entropy, of the universe always increases. So, the universe naturally tends towards more messiness. Let's summarize the second law's core idea. For a process to be spontaneous, the entropy of the universe, which is the sum of the entropy change of your system and its surroundings, must be greater than zero. If it's less than zero, the process won't happen spontaneously. And if it's exactly zero, your system is at equilibrium. So, the key takeaway is that the universe has a natural inclination towards increasing disorder. For example, when sugar dissolves in water, the sugar molecules spread out, increasing the overall disorder of the system. This makes the dissolving process spontaneous. This simple yet profound law helps us predict the direction of countless natural phenomena and chemical reactions. Now, let's test your understanding with a few quick questions. First, which process increases entropy, freezing water, condensing vapor, or sublimating dry ice? Second, according to the second law, what happens to the total entropy of the universe during a spontaneous process? And finally, in simple terms, why does a gas expand to fill its container all by itself? Pause the video, think, and then check your answers. Now that we've grasped the basics, let's dive a bit deeper into the quantitative aspects of entropy and introduce a powerful new tool, Gibbs free energy. Entropy changes can occur in many ways. Think about phase transitions, melting, boiling, or sublimation all increase entropy because particles get more freedom to move. Conversely, freezing or condensation decreases entropy. Changing temperature also affects entropy. Heating a substance makes its particles move more, increasing disorder. Increasing the volume of a gas gives its molecules more space, thus increasing entropy. Even chemical reactions can increase or decrease entropy, especially if they change the number of gas molecules. For example, a reaction producing more gas molecules will generally have a positive entropy change for the system. Finally, mixing different substances almost always leads to an increase in entropy. To quantify entropy change, we use the formula delta S is equal to Q_reversible T. Here, Q_reversible is the heat exchanged during a reversible process, and T is the absolute temperature in Kelvin. The unit for entropy is joules per Kelvin. This equation is especially useful for calculating entropy changes during phase transitions, where heat exchange occurs at a constant temperature. While delta S_universe is the true indicator of spontaneity, it's often tricky to calculate. This is where Gibbs free energy, denoted as delta G, becomes incredibly useful. It combines enthalpy, entropy of the system, and temperature into a single, practical criterion for spontaneity at constant pressure and temperature. The Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, delta G is equal to delta H. T delta S is a cornerstone of thermodynamics. It tells us that a reaction is spontaneous if delta G is negative. If delta G is positive, the reaction is non-spontaneous in the forward direction, but the reverse reaction would be spontaneous. And if delta G is zero, the system is at equilibrium. This equation beautifully shows how both enthalpy changes and entropy changes contribute to spontaneity, with temperature playing a crucial role in their balance. For instance, processes that are exothermic and increase disorder are always spontaneous. We also have formal statements of the second law, like Clausius's, which states heat cannot spontaneously flow from cold to hot, and Kelvin-Planck's, which says no heat engine can be 100% efficient. Time to apply your medium-level understanding. First, calculate the entropy change for melting water given its enthalpy of fusion. Second, predict the sign of entropy change for a specific reaction involving gases. Third, given delta H and delta S for a reaction, calculate delta G and determine its spontaneity at 300 Kelvin. Fourth, explain why Gibbs free energy is more practical than universal entropy for chemists. And finally, state the Kelvin-Planck version of the second law in your own words. Good luck with these problems. Now, let's elevate our understanding. The hard level connects Gibbs free energy to temperature dependence, standard conditions, and equilibrium, which are vital for GME. The Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, delta G is equal to delta H, T delta S, isn't just a formula, it's a profound statement about how spontaneity is influenced by both energy and disorder, with temperature acting as the master controller. A negative delta H, meaning an exothermic reaction, tends to make delta G negative, favoring spontaneity. A positive delta S, meaning an increase in disorder, also pushes delta G towards negativity. The fascinating part is how temperature can flip the switch on spontaneity. For example, if a reaction is exothermic but decreases entropy, it might be spontaneous at low temperatures where the delta H term dominates, but non-spontaneous at high temperatures where the T delta S term becomes dominant. Conversely, an endothermic reaction that increases entropy might only become spontaneous above a certain temperature. This concept of crossover temperature, where delta G equals zero, is crucial for predicting reaction behavior. Let's formalize the temperature dependence. If a reaction is exothermic and increases entropy, it's always spontaneous. If it's endothermic and decreases entropy, it's never spontaneous. The interesting cases are when delta H and delta S have the same sign. If both are negative, the reaction is spontaneous only at low temperatures. If both are positive, it's spontaneous only at high temperatures. The specific temperature at which spontaneity flips is approximately when T equals delta H divided by delta S. We also use standard Gibbs free energy change, delta G degree, which refers to reactions under standard conditions, typically 1 atmosphere pressure and 298 Kelvin. This allows for consistent comparisons and calculations using standard formation energies. One of the most powerful connections in thermodynamics is between the standard Gibbs free energy change, delta G degree, and the equilibrium constant, K. The equation delta G degree is equal to RT ln K tells us if products or reactants are favored at equilibrium. A negative delta G degree means K is greater than 1, favoring products. A positive delta G degree means K is less than 1, favoring reactants. If delta G degree is 0, K is 1, indicating significant amounts of both at equilibrium. This relationship allows us to predict the extent of a reaction just from thermodynamic data. Furthermore, for phase transitions at their equilibrium temperature, like boiling or melting points, delta G is 0. This simplifies the Gibbs-Helmholtz equation to delta S is equal to delta HT, allowing us to calculate entropy changes for these transitions directly from their enthalpy changes. Now, challenge yourself with these hard-level questions. First, determine the temperature range for spontaneity given delta H and delta S. Second, calculate delta G degree for a reaction using given standard enthalpy and entropy values. Third, find the equilibrium constant K if delta G degree is provided. Fourth, calculate the entropy of vaporization for ethanol. Fifth, explain how the Gibbs-Helmholtz equation integrates enthalpy and entropy. Sixth, assess if a reaction with specific delta H degree and delta S degree can ever be spontaneous. And finally, what does a large positive delta G degree imply about the equilibrium composition? Tackle these to solidify your understanding. Alright, future engineers and scientists, prepare to push your limits. The hardest level delves into the statistical heart of entropy, the limits of energy conversion, and the ultimate laws governing our universe. At its deepest level, entropy isn't just about messiness, it's about probability. Ludwig Boltzmann's equation, S is equal to K ln W, provides a statistical interpretation. Here, S is entropy, K is Boltzmann's constant, and W represents the number of microstates, the microscopic arrangements of atoms and molecules that correspond to a given macroscopic state. A system with more ways to arrange its particles, i.e., more microstates, has higher entropy. This explains why disorder is favored. There are simply many more disordered configurations than ordered ones. This statistical view underpins all macroscopic thermodynamic observations, offering a profound insight into why systems spontaneously evolve towards states of greater disorder. The second law also sets fundamental limits on how efficiently we can convert heat into work, a concept crucial for heat engines and power generation. The Carnot cycle, an idealized reversible heat engine, defines the theoretical maximum efficiency, given by 1 minus the ratio of the cold reservoir temperature to the hot reservoir temperature, both in Kelvin. Real engines, due to inevitable irreversibilities like friction and heat loss, always operate at lower efficiencies. This means some energy is always degraded and becomes unavailable for work, increasing the universe's entropy. Furthermore, when substances mix, their entropy increases. For ideal gases, this entropy of mixing can be calculated using mole fractions, highlighting why solutions and mixtures form spontaneously even without significant enthalpy changes. The third law of thermodynamics completes our understanding of entropy, stating that the entropy of a perfect crystalline substance at absolute 0 Kelvin, is 0. At this point, there's only one possible microstate, a perfectly ordered crystal, so S equals K ln 1, which is 0. This law provides the absolute reference point for entropy, allowing us to determine absolute entropy values for substances, unlike enthalpy or Gibbs free energy, which are relative. The second law's universal applicability extends far beyond chemical reactions, influencing everything from the expansion of the universe to the functioning of biological systems. All real, spontaneous processes are irreversible, meaning they cannot be undone without leaving a trace in the surroundings, and this irreversibility always generates entropy. The concept of irreversibility and entropy generation is key. Every real process, from burning fuel to your body metabolizing food, creates some amount of unusable energy, increasing the entropy of the universe. This has profound implications for energy resources and the concept of an entropy crisis. Understanding these limits is crucial for designing more efficient technologies and sustainable practices. The second law, therefore, is not just a theoretical construct, it's a practical guide for engineers and scientists, informing everything from power plant design to understanding the fundamental direction of time itself. It is the bedrock upon which much of modern physical science is built. Time for the ultimate challenge. For Q1, explain the entropy difference between states using Boltzmann's equation. Q2, calculate the maximum efficiency and work of a Carnot engine. Q3, derive the delta S is equal to delta HT relationship from Gibbs-Helmholtz. Q4 explain the third law's role in absolute entropy. Q5 calculate the entropy of mixing for a gas mixture. These questions will test your deep understanding and analytical skills. Continuing with the hardest questions, Q6 why are perpetual motion machines of the second kind impossible? Q7 discuss the entropy crisis in context of the second law. Q8 how do microstates explain entropy increase during dissolution? Q9 does a refrigerator violate the Clausius statement? Explain. And Q10 can a non-spontaneous reaction have positive system entropy, and if so, why is it still non-spontaneous? Good luck with these advanced problems. And that wraps up our deep dive into the second law of thermodynamics. We've journeyed from basic spontaneity to the statistical nature of entropy and its profound implications. This fundamental law is crucial not just for G, but for understanding the very fabric of our universe. For more such engaging and comprehensive content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for continuous learning. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep mastering your G journey. See you next time.